أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Welcome to another episode of in Exile. Today we are discussing bread and circus, in particular the FIFA World Cup.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, everybody's extremely excited that Spain won, of course, except Abhishek over there in the back. But regardless, whether you are pro-Argentinian, which you shouldn't be, or you're pro-Spanish, which you definitely should be, because Lamine Yamal is the upcoming guy. By the way, a lot of conspiracies about that.
Yeah, I saw them. The Masonic washing ritual.
Yeah,
and
yeah. And
yeah.
if you spell out Lionel, like Messi's like full legal
Yeah.
name, like it actually spells Lamine. Anyway, uh, regardless of who you support, you are still under the spell, so to speak, of distraction, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why we wanted to talk about this, is because the FIFA World Cup, I mean, we ourselves got sucked into it. Let's not
Big
lie. It was literally entirely dunya focus. Which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with having some fun. You know, like if you want to go and watch a game. I think it was nice to sit down with the boys, and you're not in like a haram setting as well.
Right.
Like you're in a halal controlled environment. You guys are drinking some coffee, eating some pizza. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's all about balance at the end of the day, like we always talk about. But then you start to see like the other side of people start to come out, and you begin to start realizing, especially from like an outside looking in, like, yo, some people become way too invested in like
Right.
one particular player. Like, oh, Messi's the greatest.
Yeah.
Messi's the best. Like he's almost like a prophetic type of figure in people's lives.
Godly.
And I think that is where you teeter on the edge of like, okay, maybe you're dipping into like the haram pool a little bit. So what are your thoughts on, maybe how about like balance between
Yeah.
dunya and akhirah?
I mean, I'll start off with saying that, like you mentioned, it's not necessarily a negative thing. Everything is about what you make it. You know, people always talk about, and I agree with the concept of bread and circus. Don't get me wrong. I also am not a big fan of somebody who makes sports their entire personality.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the FIFA World Cup. It happens once every 4 years. I would say it's the sports event of our times. You know, the whole world is tuning in. I believe 13 billion views came in for this FIFA World Cup, record-breaking, right?
great.
The most viewed event on television in history, period, right? I mean, that's crazy to think about. I'll start with the positives first, because I don't think everything is negative.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like you said, everything is about what you make it. The environment, the intention. And we believe in the words of our Prophet ﷺ, who says, "Inna min amalu bin niyat." Any action is judged by its intention. If your intention to watch that cup is to gather around, have a good time, strengthen brotherhood, strengthen family bonds, whatever it is, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the excessiveness aspect of it comes into play when you begin making it a topic of conversation in everything, and when you begin putting too much emotional investment to the point that it begins fracturing your social relationships with other people. And I saw this happening. It's crazy, by the way, right? People talking, and you know, everybody watches the World Cup. Whether you have ball knowledge or not, you're watching the World Cup. And I saw some people making comments, you know, they're not soccer, football experts. They're making comments based on opinion and whatever. And other people, oh, you never watch soccer. What do you know? And this arrogance, this like satanic kibr, arrogance started coming out of people, you know? I'm not taking myself out of the equation, by the way, you know? I used to be a big soccer fan.
Yeah.
I think you witnessed me in some of those games, you know? But there is positives to it. That, and I think the other fact that's a huge positive, in my opinion, is that, you know, for people, I'll go to Palestine.
Yeah.
For people who don't have an avenue for expressing any sort of communal joy after having been, you know, stepped on in the decades preceding this, I think they projected their hopes onto a specific team. So the FIFA World Cup became relatively political as well, especially this FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
I think this was the most political World Cup that I've viewed, and I started watching the World Cup since 2006. So, but you know, there's a lot of positives to it, and nations and people do project hope into some of these teams. Some of these teams are not just kicking a ball around, they're reflecting values to people. Let's take the finalists, Spain versus Argentina. All love to my Argentinian people, by the way, because I know the Argentinian people and the Argentinian government are not the same thing. An overwhelming majority of Argentinian people, 78%, are in support of Palestine. Okay? But when you look at the quality of the players of Spain, Lamine Yamal, obviously Muslim, very vocal about supporting Palestine.
Yeah.
Unai Simon, the goalie, vocal about supporting Palestine. You know, you have the Spanish technical team and players who have not shied away from this idea of standing for what's right. And you have the Spanish government, who's done the same. I think is the only government in the entirety of the world who cut ties with Israel. They cut ties with them. They kicked out the American fleet from using Spanish bases to transport weapons to Israel. I mean, that takes guts. Trump threatened these guys. He said, we're going to cut off all trade with Spain because of this. That's not a small action. So mad respect to the Spanish people for that. And the Spanish people are overwhelmingly in support of the Palestinian cause. Overwhelmingly. One of the most supportive people in all the world. So you can't tell me that when a team like that goes up against a team whose president is Javier Mileikovsky, ultra Zionist, right? Ultra Zion. I mean, this guy is a Jew wannabe. They'll never accept him, but he's a wannabe Jew.
Yeah.
He says, I identify as a Jew. By the way, in order to be president of Argentina, constitutionally, you have to be a Catholic, you know? So he's a Catholic, but he doesn't believe in Catholicism. And, you know, you have a set of players who behaved like thugs the entire World Cup. When you have Spain versus that, I think it becomes political by nature at that point.
It does become political in nature. And you know what? Something that you just kind of sprung to my mind was, you know, Islam is a religion of more than just like rituals. It's also a religion of character, which I think is what bridges the gap a lot of the times between like culture and religion and the separation between the two. And so with this idea of like character and as well as like mannerisms coming to play, Argentinian teams, they were just like really dirty this entire World Cup.
1000%.
Like everybody can agree about that. I think the only red card that they received the entire World Cup was this last game. And even then they were arguing against it, right? They were like, "Oh no, that's not another yellow card." No, it was a blatant red card. He literally did like a somersault. If we didn't have gravity limits, this guy would be flying in the sky. So blatant red card, but they were playing dirty the entire game, not just the final, literally all the games. They were elbowing guys, just un-Islamic mannerisms, right? We get it, all right, as men, all right, who've played sports, things get a little heated. There's no doubting that, all right? There also is a drive and an ambition in oneself to win, okay? You don't just want to be second place. Of course you want to go second place, you know, you want to get first place, but you don't do it at the sacrifice of killing somebody or of like causing undue harm to someone. That's not Islamic at all.
Right.
So, you know, just looking at those types of characteristics, Argentina was not a team that a lot of people supported just because of their dirty antics. Another thing is nobody likes snitches, okay? Like that, I know that that's like a huge thing in like American culture. By the way, it's kind of unhealthy, but to like a certain extent. But dude, what's his name? Cucurella?
Yeah.
Went very quickly like this, okay? He didn't do like this.
He just did
all right?
this.
He just went like this. Like one could even say like he was just scratching his mustache. Messi immediately like ran to the ref like a crybaby. All right, like this victim mentality. Bro, what are you a victim of? Argentina, like one of the most racist Latin American countries in the
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
right? Super racist. What the hell are you? What do you have to go and snitch about? Oh, ref, look, he covered his mouth. So, dirty antics, dirty player mentality, even dirtier fans.
I was just about to
Dude,
comment on
the fans. Okay, don't take my word for it, all right, or your word for it. Look at Aisho's speed, the way that he was treated by Argentinian fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Look at how the Egyptian people were treated when they were playing against against Argentine. Was the Argentinian fans after they won started throwing beer on the Egyptian fans?
Yes, yes.
Again, are the Argentinian fans in their drunken state a representation of Argentina as a whole?
No, no.
All right, I'm not trying to paint that broad, of a stroke there for all of Argentinians. Like you said, 78% of them they support Palestine, but how the heck can you go about supporting that type of that nature of like a fan base? I don't know, and so it calls into question again. Remember, I started this off by saying that this is bred in circus, right? It makes people act some certain type of way, especially in a group setting.
1000%.
You know, I mean,
Mob mentality takes over.
literally mob
Yeah,
mentality
of
takes
course.
over, and you see really, unfortunately, the disgusting side of people a lot of the time when they make something like sports their religion. All right, when you
Or a team, or a player.
or
right?
anything like
Yeah.
that. All right, it's literally idolatry maxing. All right,
Yeah.
and it's not something to be proud of. But again, as long as if you are watching it, like you said, right, in a controlled setting, with brotherhood in mind, there's nothing negative about it at all, right? But you brought up something interesting. I want you to kind of dig into it a little bit more. Was the politics of
Yeah.
it? Okay, I was listening to a German. I don't know if you heard this. There was a German. Who are the people that like are? Yeah,
Commentators?
commentator. All right. The camera panned to Trump, and it was like Trump was like, with the trophy. This was when he was in the presidential box. All right. And he was just being pampered like no other foreign dignitary has ever been pampered before. Like the ability to touch the trophy and take
Yeah.
pics with it, whatever. Okay, so was this FIFA World Cup intended to be political?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. Let's backtrack a little bit. First and foremost, I believe any major sporting event in the world is seized as an opportunity by the powers that be to manipulate public perception in some way. Whether it's through symbolism, whether it's through some sort of political messaging, like you said. There's no way in hell you have 13 billion people watching an event and powerful people are just sitting yeah, let the guys enjoy the show. None of them is doing that. I guarantee you it's being politicized on purpose. That being said, if something is that politically charged, whether it's sports or not, then it becomes an avenue and a battleground for all political opinions to go into it. And as Muslims, that's not something we should just take ourselves out of, right? You know me, I don't watch sports throughout the year. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I hate the NBA, right? No offense. Actually, all offense. They're corrupt. But I mean, when it's something like the World Cup, it's not just American, it's global, right? Truly global. Not like World Series, Super. Those are all, nobody watches football outside of the US, all right?
No.
They tried starting a football league in England. It flopped so badly, but they canceled it within 3 years. I mean, it was terrible. They were not selling tickets. That's how bad it was. So when you have an event that's so charged and so tuned into, it becomes an opportunity to spread your message. You know where I take this from? The story of Musa and Fir'aun. Fir'aun, when Musa alayhi salam goes to him and calls him to the worship of Allah, Fir'aun decides to put on a public show. So he sends emissaries all throughout his kingdom, calling everybody to come watch his magicians take on Musa. It's a show, it's a spectacle, right? Now, did Musa say, no, 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 no. I want this to be a private thing. I'm just trying to convince you, Pharaoh. He did not. Bless you, Saif. All right? He did not. Musa alayhi salam welcomed it because he knew Allah was on his side, right? Why not spread this message to everybody? And we know how that went. The magicians cast their staff, and Musa cast his staff. And al-haq defeated the batil in that moment.
Right.
I think venues such as the World Cup have that power. They have the power to cast spells and illusions, but they also have powers to break them, in my opinion. And I think an illusion that was broken in this World Cup, going to the politics of it, to your original question, is the illusion of FIFA, the corrupt sports institution, the football federation of the world, right? And what caused it? By the way, it started as a relatively normal World Cup. Normal, right? I mean, beyond all the restrictions on the Iranian team and the deportations and the not allowing specific referees from Somalia to come in and ICE, and it was all political from the beginning. You're right, you know? But it's, you know, the games were normal. Even Argentina was normal in the beginning. Nobody was an enemy until that Egypt game. Subhanallah, how much of a coincidence that it's a Muslim country that qualifies in the World Cup for the second time ever. Okay? Relatively unknown players apart from 2 or 3. Most of them, I know Zico, the guy who scored the goal. I think Mohamed Zico, I believe. He was a shoe vendor.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
He was a shoe salesman. He played in the Egyptian league. Not enough money to make anything, right? So he was selling shoes with his dad. And a player like that, going from a shoe vendor to the World Cup, scoring a goal that's arguably one of the best goals in World Cup history. And then that controversial VAR call that came out. After that, I think that's the moment that the spell of the Pharaoh was broken. Right there. Now everybody was like, wait a second. I've never seen that before. Why did they do that? Why? Because Egypt had 2 goals, right? Am I saying Egypt was going to win? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they were going to win. Argentina's a tough team. I mean, you don't make it to the finals without being a tough team. Don't get me wrong, all right? But the spell of unequal treatment, of elite prioritization that FIFA has for certain teams over others. Egypt doesn't sell tickets. Egypt doesn't have as high of betting odds, right? Gambling, sponsorships. Egypt doesn't produce that, but Argentina does. Leo Messi does. If Leo Messi's playing in a game, tickets are $2,900. If Mohamed Zico's playing in one, they're what, 1,000? So of course, and by the way, that happened. When Portugal got disqualified, the price of the quarterfinals went from 2,900 to 1,300 because Ronaldo was not playing anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, that power, that elite privilege that we see not only in FIFA, but in politics throughout the world. And how certain countries are treated differently than others. Prime example, Israel. How can you conduct a genocide and have no repercussions? Russia invades Ukraine, and nobody's advocating for that, gets kicked out of every global institution in the world.
Right.
Israel kills 70,000 people, and nothing happens to them.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the United States is now trying to dismantle the ICC to protect Israel. So FIFA, at that point in time, when Zico's goal gets canceled, became an avenue for this, in my opinion. The spell was broken. It's not about Argentina. It's not about even FIFA. It's about rules that should apply equally to everybody being hashed out in selective ways. Right?
Yeah.
This is where that spell was broken, in my opinion. This is what it became about. That's the moment that when that World Cup became way bigger than kicking a ball. That's the moment I started getting way more invested in it, personally. From that point on, I was praying on Argentina's downfall as a fan of the Argentinian team up until 2022. I was in Mecca, my brother, watching the final, Argentina versus France, okay, in the hotel lobby, but bunch of other guys too, you know, in 2022. Subhanallah. And then yesterday, I was rooting with all my heart for them to lose. I still like Leo Messi. He's not a Zionist, by the way. I know people say he's not a Zionist. He doesn't have political ideologies like that. He's just a dull dude, okay?
He just sold to the highest bidder.
Yeah, exactly. But is he the greatest to ever play it? In my opinion, probably. That doesn't matter, though. To me, that doesn't matter. I don't worship the guy, right? Argentina became a symbol of what you said earlier, arrogance and dhulm, oppression, in this World Cup.
Mm.
And people all over the world are fed up with that.
I 100% agree with you. I think that there was, you know, subhanallah, I mean, here's the thing is like, I agree with you in terms of the fact that this was 100% political in nature. There's like nothing that you said that I disagree with. You know, is it healthy again to just like make it your lifestyle? No.
No.
Is it healthy to kind of sip the tea every once in a while? Yeah, sure. Is it healthy to dive into conversations about who's the GOAT? No, because every new generation you're going to have another new GOAT.
Right.
It kind of is just like, it reminds me of the Michael Jordan versus LeBron James conversation
Right,
a lot of the
right.
times, where it's like, well, who's really the GOAT? Who has more rings? Who has this or that?
Idle talk.
It really is idle talk.
Idle
dude.
talk.
And it's just a distraction.
Yeah.
It's a distraction from bigger things that are happening.
I agree with that.
And I think one thing that I will point out though, and you messaged this in the group chat once, and it was something that I immediately saw the day after, was what Dr. Shadi, Masri spoke to it, was I think that this World Cup was also an introduction to Dajjalic tools,
Agreed.
where, VAR, which is already a huge controversial, technology, was hit upon. And, it's this idea of like, don't even believe what you see. And we know in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that as a believer, you don't even need to see something to believe it. All right? But in this reality, they're even challenging what you see and telling you don't believe what you see. Right?
They're playing with your senses.
They are 100% playing with your senses. So I think that this was an avenue for the introduction of something sinister in nature.
How easily can you manipulate people's
100%.
perception? Yeah.
And of course, who is in favor of VAR? It's whoever is getting the call on their
course.
team's behalf.
Of course.
A lot of the times it was in Argentina's behalf, okay? But notice how quickly people were up in a frenzy. People were up in a frenzy dude, it's the stupidest thing, bro, on a game. People we're really quick to forget about Palestine. By the way, it's still going on, okay? But like, Israel is still bombing Gaza.
Yeah.
All right. Israel is sending military convoys into Syria.
Into Lebanon,
All
into
right.
Syria.
They're bombing
Yeah.
Lebanon. And
Yeah.
by the way, the Lebanese government was like, okay, hey, we need a truce. We need to go and sign an agreement. Israel is like, no, we're not going to agree to end any aggression. We're not going to sign that part of the agreement. We don't agree with ending aggression at all.
Because they're colonizing.
We want to keep going with the aggression. So people get really riled up and are willing to fight tooth and nail for a VAR call, which again, in my opinion, I think is really stupid. It's ruining the game.
I agree.
But to the reality of it, dude, how much of literally a goy are you to just forget about the real world? Sure, an event takes place. I don't even know how long the World Cup is. It's like a month?
A month, yeah.
For a month, you just become a sloth, all right?
Yeah.
And you just sit there on a couch and you're so invested in a game while people are literally losing their livelihood
Yeah.
everywhere around you. I think that is what makes it too much for me.
I agree with that.
Like, I'm not a huge soccer guy to begin with. I just like hanging out with the boys and watching the game. All right? Like, I don't see an issue with it again. It's just more so like when people make it their main mission, like nothing else. Their life, nothing. Their life is completely cut off. I see that as a huge distraction and as a huge dajjalic tool. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that we need to, as Muslimin, be a little bit wary of. Like, okay, where is my attention really being taken to? All right, what am I really being distracted from? Have I really forgotten about the oil prices?
Mm-hmm.
You know, have I really forgotten about the fact that the housing market is about to crash? All right, I mean,
I hope
so. I mean, khair, bro. But I mean, you know, so many people rely upon their houses as like
Investments.
yeah, as like okay, a means to get loans.
I hope it crashes and burns.
I mean, you know, it'd be good for a person that has like actual cash, but you know, subhanallah, yani it's something for again, and I know that we started this off by talking about the fact that it is bread and circus. Let's not become too attached to the fact that, you know, I'm a part of the bread and circus. Separate yourself from it.
Speaking of bread and circus, the main beast of the show walked in.
How was Mexico?
Hi,
huh?
Dario.
MashaAllah.
Chief exhibit right here.
All right.
But okay, that's definitely something I agree with.
Yeah.
I think, again, we started this by talking about balance.
Yeah.
The Prophet ﷺ, by the way, our model for living, did watch sports events. Horse racing. He loved horse racing. He loved watching wrestling competitions, right? There's a balance to everything, okay? But like you said, when it becomes a tool for deception and distraction, then it becomes a spell cast by Pharaoh. That's what we should not allow to happen.
Yeah.
So again, it's always a double-edged sword, right? We spoke about how it can shatter perceptions, and I think there's a lot of positives that came out of this World Cup. Again, exposing massive corrupt infrastructures in the sports world, right? Exposing the hate against Argentina is unparalleled, by the way. I don't think I saw a single comment supporting them that wasn't Argentinian.
Okay, yeah, but dude, you know the fireworks were colored blue and white
Where? At the World Cup?
at the end.
Of course.
When they announced the winner.
Because they didn't follow the script.
Shut up.
Spain accidentally broke the script.
It was that red card. That red card really saved them.
So, you know, it's... By the way, the Argentinian players were complaining at the end of the game. They went up to the Spanish players saying, "You guys were crying all week. You influenced the referees." It's like, oh, you were expecting lighter treatment.
After they were beating them up, by the way.
Yeah, you were upset that you got treated fairly. You know? Crazy. I mean, subhanAllah. But again, to go back to the point, I think, you know, we talked about the positive side and the negative side. And I think beyond this, you know, we're back to the real world. The spell is gone. People have issues. The ummah has issues. How do Muslims recenter this, right? And how do we use this to take control of our narrative again? That's a very important question in my mind, you know? And being wary of things like VAR, the Dajjalic project. Suspend your senses. By the way, you know what the only being we should suspend our senses for is Allah. The only thing that you suspend logic and reasoning and senses for is Allah, because He created them, right? But that is exactly the tool that Dajjal is trying to employ. Dajjal is trying to take the role of Allah through tools, right? And VAR, in my opinion, I mean, that Portugal call, crazy. The Croatia call, a hair flick. Are you kidding me? A hair flick. That Iran toe call, right? On Egypt.
Or the England versus Netherlands.
Yeah, or
the hitting the
cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the Argentina versus Egypt game, right? How many of these calls were outright reshaping your perception of reality and just getting you to go along with it?
Manipulation, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're a Portugal fan, that call was the best thing in the world. I don't care if it's wrong or not. It helped my team. Now, when humans think in terms of these tribalistic terms, which were discouraged to do by Allah and by the Prophet ﷺ, then we all fail. We all return to Jahiliyyah. There's a literal incident, as a hadith, two Sahaba were arguing and they got into a fight. So the people who were there returned to Jahiliyyah and they started backing up their tribesmen. It was a Muhajir and an Ansar. The Ansaris backed the Ansar, the Muhajirin backed the Muhajir. The Prophet ﷺ walked out seeing this and he says, you guys have returned upon the path of Jahiliyyah. That you sided with somebody simply because he's from you. Right? Not because he was right, just because he's from you. Now we have to stop and think. We all had favorite teams. We all wanted somebody to win.
No.
Was there instances in this World Cup where our nafs al-lawama took the best of us? Our lower self took the best of us. I know for me there definitely was. All right? And I know for Dario there definitely was a lot. But it's a callback. Everything I use everything as a reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Including this. Is it reminding me to be more humble, more understanding, to see other people's point of view, right? More grounded, more principled. If not, then I'm a goy. All right? I'm going to live as a goy and die as a goy. If yes, then alhamdulillah, then this reminder served well. That's my spiel.
Khair. May Allah keep us as a reflective nation, inshallah.
Ameen,
And may Allah keep us away from other forms of idolatry, inshallah. Because I think that's what came out a lot in this World Cup.
Yes.
You know, whether it was a Messi fan or a Ronaldo fan. I love Ronaldo, but I mean, at least he said Bismillah before taking that free kick.
He
So,
did. No, it was not Vamos Marca. It was Bismillah. Very clear.
So khair, inshallah. You know, I think this episode is here to center us back, inshallah, onto one main goal, to center us back to reality above all else. And may Allah, you know, strengthen the ummah once more around the world behind something that actually matters and not just a football team.
And I'm going to say this, you know, because I saw in one of the ceremonies, there was people making tawaf
around the World Cup
around
thing?
the cup.
Oh,
the World
damn.
Cup.
That's insane.
So
Was it counterclockwise or clockwise?
I don't remember, but
Okay.
but I just know they were making tawaf around it. And, you know, center your heart on the Kaaba. Don't
Yeah.
center your heart on that cup. That's my message.
Khair, inshallah. Beautiful. And don't be like the shuyukh that were making dua for Spain to win or Argentina to
And
lose.
then Dr. Shadi was very pro Spain. I know that much.
Safe's pretty pro Spain. Look at him with the jersey, man. MashaAllah. All right. With that, thank you so much. Please like, comment, share the video, subscribe to in Exile. We hope to see you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.